You're listening to the Organize My Thoughts podcast, where we teach you how.
Hello, family, and welcome back to another episode of the Organize My Thoughts podcast. You guys, I'm super excited to be back with another episode. I hope you all are having an amazing week. This has been one of those weeks where I've been kind of resetting. And before I even get to this episode, let's just talk about resetting for a second. We are halfway through the year. I don't know about you guys, but this year has felt like me running on a hamster wheel. It's just like the wheel is running on its own, and I'm just trying to keep up. God has me doing so many new things. He has me laying down some things that I've been doing for a while and just pivoting, transitioning into some new things. And it's very exciting. But I'm like, God, can you slow down, okay? The deadlines are getting shorter. The tasks are getting bigger. I'm just like, God, can a girl have a break? But ain't no days off in the kingdom, y'all. So while we may have rest, that rest comes when we're still moving. So whether you've been killing it all year, keep killing it. Make sure that you're getting some rest and just refreshing yourself. I know for me, last week I went and got a massage, my nails done, my toes done, my hair done. And it had been a minute, y'all. I was in a little bit of a struggle phase because if y'all know anything about going from natural to relaxed, okay, that process of growing your hair out, y'all know, most of y'all know because of the cover that I used to be bald. I was bald for like 4 years. Not that anything was wrong. I just didn't like hair and I wanted to go natural. Not many people say they can feel their scalp, but it was an amazing experience. I really learned to embrace my beauty and it was just so fun. But child, that process of growing out your hair is so ew. Like that in middle stage, I'm just not a fan. But anyway, everything is done now. I'm super excited. My hair, by the grace of God, my hair grew out to the exact length to the cut that I wanted. And that is literally the grace, y'all, because I was praying. I was like, God, I pray that you anoint every hair follicle, God, because I need grace to withstand this. I was asking literally for the Samson anointing to grow up my hair. Listen, when it comes to prayer, me and God, it's a very casual relationship. And so I pray about everything. And prayer works because it's funny. I went to the salon and the lady was like, wow, your ends are so strong. Everything is grown out really evenly. You don't even need a haircut. So y'all can't tell me that's not the grace of God. And on top of that, I didn't even have a hairstylist. I had to ask God. I was like, God, could you lead me to a hairstylist? Because there's so many options out here, but who you let touch your body, your hair, especially when you're a believer, it matters. And so I was like, God, can you lead me to a hairstylist? And sure enough, I was in Target buying something I shouldn't have been buying. But anyway, clearly I was positioned properly because I ran into this lady in the hair aisle and I was like, her hair was laid. It was so, so pretty. And so I asked her, like, man, where do you get your hair done? And so she told me the lady in the salon, and I went there and had the most incredible experience ever. Like, the environment was so peaceful. The lady that did my hair, her name was Tammy. She was so nice. She gave me exactly what I want. That salon is Hair Trends. It's not sponsored, but I just had such an amazing experience that I just had to tell y'all about that. But anyway, whether you've been killing it all year or you've been taking some time to refresh, these next 6 months, you can get so much accomplished. So you're not out of the game. If you take a break, that's totally fine. Get back on it and kill these goals, accomplish them. You can really do it. You don't need a whole year to get stuff done. You can get more done in the next 6 months than you have in the past 5 years. Believe me, if you will just stand in God's strength and just believe again, believe for the things that you sat down because you got disappointed that they didn't happen in your timing. Believe for the bigger than what you believe for in the beginning of the year. God can do exceedingly above all that you could even ask or think. So don't sleep on yourself for the next 6 months. Definitely don't sleep on God. Get off of social media if you need to. Stop comparing yourself to everybody else's success or whatever they're doing. You are in your own lane. You're competing against yourself. So stay focused, be encouraged. You can get so much done, and I'm really excited for you. So let's go ahead and transition into today's episode. As you can see by the title, it's called God Doesn't Need Your Help. He Needs Your Heart. And at first it was going to be a rebuke episode, but really God already rebuked me. But I just want to encourage you and remind you that no matter what God has called you to do, no matter how big it is, no matter how small you feel it is, no matter if you feel unqualified or anything like that, just know that God has already ordained every single thing in your life. God was reminding me recently that He is the author and finisher of our faith. When we say that God is the author, that means he's already written our story. He's created us from the inside out. He has laid out each and every single moment of our lives. So the moments that we're living in now, especially if you're in a season where you feel like you don't know what's coming next, or you've been in this season, maybe a wilderness for a while, and you don't see anything on the other side. You feel like you've been praying, you've been fasting, and things haven't been changing. Remember that there's no to be continued in God's story. There's no surprise in God's plan on his end. Everything that's happening, there's always something written after that. And I believe that there's so much peace in that, because I feel like sometimes we get in this walk with God and we're being obedient and we just begin to grow weary. And in that weariness, our emotions take over, and then obedience becomes a burden because now our hearts are not in it. And so when we're talking about this episode that God doesn't need your help, he needs your heart, a lot of us are so tired and worn down to the point where we don't even have faith in what God will do, or we've gotten so discouraged and frustrated that we have been trying to do things in our own strength. We're trying to maneuver things and manipulate situations to try to help God out or try to speed up the answers to our prayers. And God is like, I don't need you to be doing all the things. I just need you at my feet. And I think that's such a beautiful reminder, because we can get so caught up in performing for God, doing the things that he's blessed us with, like working on the business, working on the ministry, and doing all those things. We can get so caught up in doing those things because it's easier, that we forget to really be at his feet. We forget to be doing the things that we did when we first fell in love with God, sitting in his presence, listening, just abiding in him, not worrying about what we can get from him, but just truly experiencing intimacy and relationship with him, friendship. Like in Psalms 23, it says that he is our best friend and our shepherd. And I think that it's so important for us to really embrace God as our best friend, as the close God that he is. Because if not, obedience can feel like a burden. If you don't really get truly connected with God and focus on just flourishing in your personal relationship with him, outside of whatever title you have, outside of the business, outside of the ministry, outside of whatever it is that you're doing for everybody else, if you don't get grounded in your relationship with God, then everything else is off. And so I really want to encourage you guys to just take a moment to say, when is the last time I really spent time with God? And it wasn't time for my business, time for other things, but just time for me. When is the last time I sat down and I interceded for myself? When is the last time I just talked to God? Remember before you used to know how to pray and intercede and pray in tongues and read all the scriptures, before you knew any of that, you just knew how to talk to God. You just knew how to just be yourself and express to God what was on your heart. And you just knew how to just listen to him and just wait on him. Those were the things that happened in the beginning stages. And I feel like we've learned the tools of how to build relationship with God, but we've now made those tools an idol. We've made those strategies a substitute for just intimacy, a substitute for just real, raw, authentic conversation. Don't get so caught up in the tools that you forget the creator of the tools. God is after your heart. And I want to share with you guys a passage from a devotional that I have. It's called 100 Days of Believing Bigger by Marshawn Evans. I've actually read something out of this before. And so I still have it. I got it as a gift, and I'm so grateful, because in those moments where I'm just like, God, like, help me to get back to where we were. Just help me to remember you, to remember that you care about me, not just the things that you called me to do. You care about me as a daughter. You care about me as a son. Like, we have to remind ourselves that God cares about us. And because he cares, he's making sure that every single detail of our lives are worked out. Every single detail of the promise, every single just thing that you can think of, everything that you're trying to control or trying to manipulate behind the scenes, God's already got it figured out. And all he wants is you to trust him. And the way that you build that trust, or you repair that trust, is through conversation. It's through spending time with him. And so, like I said, I want to read to you this passage out of the devotional. And the title is Surrendered Steps. And the scripture that's there is Psalms 51, verse 17. And it says, "For the source of your pleasure is not in my performance, or the sacrifices that I might offer to you. And then the devotional says, so often we think that God's blessings are going to come faster if we're busy and doing all we can to make things happen on our end. Not so. God doesn't need our help. God needs our heart. All of our actions should be out of the overflow of a love relationship with Christ and a desire to move in step with His will, His heartbeat, and His direction. That's the essence of blessed obedience. It's not about proving, performing, or earning. Walking in obedience is more about alignment and a statement of trust in the everlasting goodness of God, and a desire to be where and what He needs as His chosen vessels here to manifest His glory. Obedience isn't supposed to be this ominous, heavy thing. It's an invitation to enter a faith adventure with God. The sacrifice God requires is not in what you do. It's found in the condition of a surrendered heart. Now, I love this passage so much. It blessed me. Like, you guys have no idea. This blessed me so much when God showed me this morning, because I felt like I was getting to this point where I was like, God, I'm doing all the things. I'm doing everything that you told me to do. Y'all know I keep my obedience list handy. And I feel like I got to this point where it started to feel like a burden being obedient. My heart started to feel distant from God. And I didn't like that. Like when you're being led by your emotions and you experience disappointment after disappointment, sometimes it can be hard to really trust God and really have that same joy in walking with Him as before. And that's why it's so important that we learn emotion management, because your emotions will really distort your view of God. Your emotions will have you feeling like God is the enemy and the enemy is good, which is a lie. The enemy is so good at manipulating our emotions to get us out of position. And I'm not even talking about position to receive the blessing. I'm talking about position in our heart posture, position beneath God. That is where we're supposed to be. And so I feel like I got to this place where I was just like, God, everything feels so heavy. Everything feels like a task. Like everything feels so forced. And He was just reminding me that, like, it's all about relationship. When you begin to do things out of your own strength and not out of the strength and relationship with God, that's when things become heavy and a burden. When you're doing things by the Spirit, that means that you're spending all of your time at God's feet. You're being Mary and not Martha. Martha was doing all the tasks, all the things that she felt like she needed to be doing. But you know where Mary was? Mary was at God's feet. And Martha was mad because Mary was over here at Jesus' feet while Martha was doing all this work. And Jesus was like, she's right where she's supposed to be. And so for me, I was like, okay, God, let me just take a step back and remember you. Because when I remember you, I remember that you are a good God. I remember that you are a holy God. I remember that you are pure, loving, that you're the God who cares about me. You're the God who knows my thoughts before they even enter my mind. You're the God who has written out a beautiful love story about my life for your glory. You're the God who knows me and calls me daughter. You have to remember that in situations where things aren't going your way, or when you feel like you want something to happen faster. God will never give you a blessing before its proper time, because you'll destroy it. And we always feel like pride is what makes us feel like we're ready for something that we're not. Pride is what makes us feel like our timing is better than God's timing. Yes, you may be tired and weary and tired of waiting, but at the end of the day, God is more concerned about having a right relationship with you than He ever is about blessing you with something that could become an idol later. And so if you're in that place where you're just like frustrated and you're like, God, I need direction. God, I need all these things. Go back to the basics. Go back and ask God, what is it that you want me to learn in this season? When I asked God that question, I was like, God, what is it that you want me to learn in this season? You know what He said to me? I'm thinking He wanted me to learn another skill or learn something to prepare me for something He was going to have me do in the future. He told me that He wanted me to learn how to embrace His love. Now, if that ain't the most fatherist thing, that's not even a word, but if that isn't just the most tender and loving thing a daughter could hear from her father, it just made me just tear up, because God, His love is just unfathomable. Like there's no word to describe God's love besides holy, pure, kind, just full, just unfiltered. And I just think that that's so beautiful that out of all the things he wanted me to learn in this season, how to embrace his love was the number one thing. And it's so funny because this might have been one of the seasons where I felt like God forgot about me, where I felt like everything else was happening for everybody else around me. And I was like, I found myself in this season. I was like, God, what about me? So to hear that he wanted me to embrace his love, learn how to embrace his love in this season was such a reminder that he already knows what's in our heart. And so, no, I don't need to be doing this and that to try to get where I need to go. All I need to do is be surrendered. Just like the devotional said, obedience is an invitation to a faith adventure with God. Obedience is an honor. It's not a burden. It's a privilege that we get as sons and daughters of God to take part in what he's doing in the earth. No, it may not be convenient for us. No, we may not even want to do some of the things that he's calling us to do. But at the end of the day, we were created for his glory. And the fact that he thought so highly of us to be partakers and partners in what he's doing here on the earth, that is such an honor. But we forget that when we're so caught up in our emotions. And I get it. Things happen. We get disappointed. We grow weary in well-doing. But we can never forget who God is in the midst of our sufferings. We can never forget who God is in the midst of our trials. These are the things that cause us to grow in faith and endure and really reveal to us who God is. In this season where you're waiting on God and you're trying to see how in the world he's going to make this thing that he's promised you come to pass, in these seasons, it's so crucial to have a surrendered heart. And all you have to do is ask for it. There's no complicated prayer that you have to pray in order to ask God to give you a new heart. In fact, he's promised to give you one. In Ezekiel 36:26 in the King James Version, it reads, "A new heart I will give to you, and a new spirit I will put within you, and I will take away the stony heart of your flesh." That new heart that God has given you, that word heart translates into a new understanding, a new mind, a new will, a new seat of appetites, new courage. That's what that means. It means that God is willingly giving you those things, and he's replacing the parts of your heart, the stony parts that have been just plagued with disappointment and bitterness and jealousy, envy, whatever you've been enduring. He will replace that stony heart with his spirit. He will give you a new heart that will be able to be God-willed and not self-willed. His spirit is what allows you to be obedient without the burden. Because really, when it's so heavy, when it's such a burden, it's just because we're doing it in our own strength. That need for control is a lack of trust, and it is pride making us feel like we know better than God. But we don't even have the capacity to obey God without his spirit. And so really, I just want you guys to understand on this episode is that God doesn't need your help bringing the promise to pass. In his loving kindness, he's invited you on this journey of what he already planned to do in the earth. And we just need to trust him. We make our walk with God harder than it has to be when we feel like we know better. Nobody knows better than the all-knowing God, the God who is omniscient, the God who is omnipresent. Nobody knows better than him. Before we were here, he already existed. Before we even knew who we were, he formed us. He always knows best, and he cares about you. So whatever you've been experiencing in your life, if you feel like it's been to harm you, it's not. It's not to harm you. What the enemy meant for evil, God will turn around for your good. God has plans to prosper you and not to harm you. So just release. Everything that he's promised you, his word will not return back to him void. It will surely take place. It will not be delayed, and it will be fulfilled. I don't care what it looks like right now. I don't care if nothing around you looks like the promise is going to come to pass. We as believers walk by faith and not by sight. So keep your eyes on God. He's got you. He's got you. This wraps up another episode of the Organize My Thoughts podcast. I love you all so much. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend. Text the link to a friend. Share the audiogram that's on Instagram at _Organize My Thoughts to your story so that more people can find us. I love you all so much, and I'll talk to you on the next one.